Yeah.
Well, what did you do with the body parts?
Oh, they're in the house. I know, I forgot the head. I wanted the head.
What did you do with the head?
The head I put in that bucket, that black bucket.
Black bucket.
In the early morning hours of February 23, 2022, a 911 call was placed from a home in Green Bay, Wisconsin. The caller wasn't reporting a burglary or a disturbance. He was reporting that his girlfriend had just woken him up to tell him she'd found her son's severed head in a bucket in the basement. He said he couldn't see very well. He said he couldn't tell what the hell it was. But there was something in the bucket. Something in the goddamn bucket. And that's how one of the most disturbing murder cases in Wisconsin history began. Not with a confession, but with a bucket. A mother who had just said goodnight to her 24-year-old son was now staring at a black plastic bucket, a towel draped over the top, unable to comprehend what her eyes were telling her. When police arrived, they found a scene that defied anything their training had prepared them for. There was dried blood on a mattress, a chain on the floor, and a head in a bucket. But the rest of Shad Thyrion's body was missing.
Quite a bit of blood down here. I want to clear this rest of this house. We've got 2 people in the house for sure.
The details you're about to hear next are extremely disturbing. Police find a severed head inside a bucket located in the basement of Tara's home. Officials later confirm it was the head of Tara's son, 24-year-old Shad Thyrion. According to Green Bay PD, a towel has been placed over Shad's head and dried blood is found on a nearby mattress.
The house was quiet. The basement was still. And somewhere in the city, a woman was sitting calmly in her apartment, having just performed acts that would make even the most hardened investigators question what human beings are capable of. That woman was Taylor Schabusiness. And the question that would echo through every phase of her trial wasn't just whether she did it. She admitted to that. The question was whether she knew it was wrong. Schabusiness's path to that basement was not a straight line. Born Taylor Denise Coronado in Chicago in 1997, she moved to Wisconsin as a child. At 11, her mother died after a prolonged illness. In high school, she was expelled for fighting and sent to live with grandparents in Texas to finish her senior year. She graduated, moved back to Wisconsin, met Warren Shabo, and by Valentine's Day 2020, they were married. They later changed their surname to Schabusiness, reportedly an idea that came to them during a period of heavy drug use. The marriage would not survive. Warren was in and out of prison, and Taylor was left to navigate her own escalating battles with addiction and mental illness. According to court records, Schabusiness was hospitalized after a suicide attempt in early 2021, diagnosed with PTSD and bipolar disorder. Her father, Arturo Coronado, testified that he had taken her to a psychiatric center because he feared she would hurt herself. She was not in the right state of mind at all, he said. He described how prescription medications seemed to make her worse. They never agreed with her at all.
Breaking point. It's so serious that her dad Arturo felt she needed to go to the county psychiatric center.
She was not in the right state of mind at all, so I feared that she would hurt herself, so that's why I took her. We both agreed. We both went there together. And try to get help, and then ended up releasing her, and she came home, and that was about it.
You might be wondering why Taylor's dad is shackled and in an inmate jumpsuit. At the time of his testimony, he's serving a 12-year sentence for second-degree sexual assault of a child, a charge in which he reportedly pleaded no contest.
Okay. Was she prescribed some medications and things like that?
She was at that evening, no, but yeah, she has been on some medications that she never liked taking those pills. I mean, they kind of messed her up even worse.
Did they cause her to hallucinate or cause her to have
I think
problems?
It all started with a Seroquel that was taken, back, I don't understand too much about those prescription drugs, but they never agreed with her at all.
Behind bars himself, serving a 12-year sentence, Coronado watched his daughter from the witness stand. But the tragedy that would define her life began on February 21st, 2022. Schabusiness reconnected with an old high school friend, Shad Thyrion. He was described by family as mild-mannered, kind, and compassionate. He also struggled with drug addiction. Their relationship was less about romance and more about sex and drugs.
According to court documents, Taylor is hospitalized after a suicide attempt in April and May of 2021. Doctors reportedly diagnosed her with PTSD and bipolar disorder. During the same year, she gives birth to Warren's baby, but it doesn't appear they were ever able to raise their child together. I searched through records with the Wisconsin Department of Corrections. It shows in May of 2021, Warren served time in prison for violating his parole. Then he reportedly began serving time on federal drug charges. Warren and Taylor are still legally married, even with Warren off in prison. But Taylor is in no position to raise a child alone, so her child moves to Texas to live with her grandparents. Taylor remains in Wisconsin. With Warren now in prison, Taylor connects with an old friend from school. His name is Shad Thyrion. Shad is described by family as someone who is mild-mannered, kind, and compassionate.
On the night of February 22nd, Schabusiness picked up Thyrion. They went to an apartment, smoked weed, then returned to his mother's house, the house where Thyrion still lived. In the basement, they smoked methamphetamine and injected trazodone, an antidepressant that acts as a sedative. They began to engage in drug-fueled sex. And then, something shifted. In her interrogation, Schabusiness described the encounter as erotic asphyxiation. She admitted to placing a metal chain around Thyrion's neck. When detectives asked if this was something they had done before, she said yes. He liked it, she said.
Taylor describes this particular sexual encounter with Shad as erotic asphyxiation. That's when you intentionally restrict oxygen to the brain for the purpose of sexual arousal. Taylor says this is something they did in prior sexual encounters too. But this time, Taylor says she put a metal chain around Shad's neck.
So will this be considered foreplay?
Yeah, it was. And then, I don't know. And then, I just didn't stop. I don't know why. I didn't stop.
Right, so you like being strangled, like having your airway, or do you like doing it to somebody else?
I like doing it to somebody.
During sex?
I have no idea. I think so.
Have you done it before?
Yeah.
But this time, she didn't stop. His face was turning purple, she told them. She described how he coughed up blood. He was fighting back. She said she waited for him to die, and she liked it. Then, she continued to sexually abuse his body. You dismembered the body, too? Detectives asked. Yeah, she replied. What did you do with the body parts? Oh, they're in the house. How did you do it? The response was chillingly casual. She described cutting off arms at the elbows, sawing through bone, using kitchen knives and a bread knife. I was sucking and cutting at the same time, she said. She talked about getting lazy, about leaving parts in bags and buckets and a crock-pot box in the back of her van. She said she forgot the head, that she had wanted the head but got distracted. The head went in the bucket.
So you dismembered the body too?
Yeah.
Well, what did you do with the body parts?
Oh, they're in the house.
Somewhere?
They're like, yeah.
Basement, upstairs, downstairs?
Absolutely in the basement. I was gonna bring them with them. And then, I know I forgot the head. I wanted the head.
Did you bring anything with you?
Yeah, it's in the van.
What?
It's in the van. It's, what is it? I don't know, a foot maybe.
The what?
I think it's a foot.
A foot in the van?
A leg maybe. I don't know. I'm like, I'm gonna bring it all, and then I'm like, man, this is messy. So then I just left it. I got lazy.
Okay.
I got lazy, and that's what I did. So I'm like,
Okay. So there's going to be maybe a foot or a leg in the van. And then,
yeah.
what did you do with the head?
I forgot that was in the van, so yeah.
What did you do with the head?
The head I put it in that bucket, that black bucket,
Black bucket?
with the blanket on top.
Okay.
I should have it.
And then where'd you leave it?
Leave the head.
The rest of him went in other places. Detectives asked if she had any experience as a butcher or with meat processing. She said no. But the medical examiner would later testify that the dismemberment was extensive: decapitation, transection of the torso, evisceration of internal organs, castration. The body had been cut into pieces. There was no bleeding because Thyrion was already dead. The medical examiner said it would have taken quite a great deal of time. But there was another layer to this case. Schabusiness had a dark obsession. Detectives searched her phone and found 24 searches related to Jeffrey Dahmer.
There was searches, things of like...
Your Honor, I would object. Relevancy. I mean, searches on the on the phone. People search, research, look at all kinds of different things. I would argue that some of these things, I believe, could be inflammatory and more prejudicial than probative.
I overrule the objection. You can go ahead and answer the question, ma'am.
Things such as flaming pentagram, Jeffrey Dahmer, things like that. KKK, I believe, is one of them.
And Detective, did you note the dates and times of the respective searches that you believed were relevant?
It was around the time of the homicide.
In the days shortly before?
In the days shortly before, yes.
She searched Jeffrey Dahmer's butt, Jeffrey Dahmer walking into court all sexy. She even took a selfie with a photo of Dahmer on her phone screen, smiling as if she were taking a picture with a celebrity. The date of that selfie was February 12, 2022, just days before Thyrion's murder. Prosecutors argued that her fascination with the infamous Wisconsin serial killer was not a coincidence.
Addresses that were connected to the phone, and that would have been a whole separate warrant and a separate search.
And when you were reviewing the phone itself, the extraction of the phone itself on March 2nd of 2022, did you note any searches related to Jeffrey Dahmer?
Yes.
Was there one? Was there more than one? How many?
24 total searches, such things like Jeffrey Dahmer, Jeff Boyardee, Jeffrey Dahmer's butt, Jeffrey Dahmer walking into court all sexy. She's got a cell phone next to her head. There's a picture of Jeffrey Dahmer on the screen of the cell phone, and she's taking a selfie with it and smiling like they're taking a selfie together.
And what is the date of that photograph?
That was February 12th.
Schabusiness pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity. Wisconsin's version of the insanity defense requires the defendant to prove they had a mental disease or defect that rendered them unable to appreciate the wrongfulness of their conduct or conform their conduct to the requirements of law. Her defense argued that her bipolar disorder, PTSD, and long-term drug use had eroded her capacity to understand what she was doing. They called Dr. Diane Litton, a forensic psychologist who had evaluated Schabusiness and testified that she was psychotic. Dr. Litton described an incident during an evaluation where Schabusiness suddenly got up from her chair, yelled, went to the corner of the room, picked up a plastic chair, and threw it at her. She then calmly sat back down, showing no physiological response, no elevated heart rate, no sweating, no signs of agitation. It was, Dr. Litton testified, consistent with a psychotic person.
July pretrial hearing where Taylor allegedly threw a chair at her.
My opinion is that she qualifies for the not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect. My opinions are that she was not responsible because of a mental disease. She wasn't responsible for the criminal conduct because at the time of the event, she had the mental disease, and it both affected, she lacked substantial capacity to both appreciate the wrongfulness of her conduct at the time the homicide occurred, but also she could not conduct, she couldn't conform. She lacked volitional control. She couldn't conform her conduct to the requirements of law. She was lacking in her ability to control herself. Based on my experience and training, that's a psychotic person.
The prosecution called Dr. Christina Ingen, who disagreed. Dr. Ingen diagnosed Schabusiness with methamphetamine-related use disorder, methamphetamine intoxication, and methamphetamine-induced psychotic disorder. Under Wisconsin law, voluntary drug use that leads to criminal actions does not qualify as a mental disease or defect.
Thanks.
The diagnoses that I offered were methamphetamine-related use disorder, and that was applied in acknowledgement of Ms. Schabusiness's general use of methamphetamine in that time period. The diagnosis of methamphetamine intoxication was applied because she was using methamphetamine at the time of the crime. And then the final diagnosis I gave was methamphetamine-induced psychotic disorder. And I offered that one because Ms. Schabusiness was describing, and the records contained indication of paranoia. I think she made a comment about muscle rebuilding during the homicide, and this indicated to me the presence of psychotic symptoms, which I attributed to the recent.
I blame it on being on drugs, Schabusiness had said during one of her evaluations. I barely do drugs. Then months go by, then I do drugs. But the evidence showed she had been using methamphetamine before, during, and after the crime. She admitted to still being tweaking on meth during the dismemberment process. The jury deliberated for less than 1 hour. They found her guilty on all 3 counts: first-degree intentional homicide, mutilating a corpse, and third-degree sexual assault. The next day, they deliberated for another hour on the insanity phase. They answered no to the question, did the defendant have a mental disease or mental defect at the time the crimes were committed? The answer was no.
Like the first phase of trial, jurors had a verdict within an hour.
At the time the crimes were committed, did the defendant have a mental disease or mental defect? Answer, no. There's no answer then for question 2. It is dated this date, July 27, 2023, signed by the foreperson. There were no dissenting jurors.
At sentencing, Judge Thomas Walsh called the crime an offense against human decency. It offends human dignity, he said. He sentenced Schabusiness to life in prison without the possibility of extended supervision. He added consecutive sentences totaling 18 years for the mutilation and sexual assault charges. Thyrion's family spoke in court. His uncle said, "To take the cowardly path that you did and to make other people suffer because you were suffering is pretty. So that name Taylor fit you well." He added, "I will pray that you meet the same fate as your idealistic Jeffrey Dahmer." But Thyrion's father, Michael Thyrion, offered something unexpected: forgiveness. "Taylor, I just want to say that I forgive you for what you done to my son," he said. "You made a bad choice, and now you have to live with it. I know you got a heart. I know you got a mind. I wish you no harm." He even asked the judge if she could see the streets again someday, though he acknowledged it might not be soon.
Feel about her, like Shad's Uncle Kelly.
Don't make no sense to me even to have the option of parole to come back and to gain someone's trust like that again. You know, because that is like the lowest thing a person can do. You know what I mean? I just don't understand that. And the biggest thing is, you know, like I said, you know, the help is free and it's there. You chose not to take, you know, I'm sure you knew you had a problem, you know. You can't blame it on childhood. You know, there's help out there. And if you take the path to go get the help, you wouldn't be in this situation right now. None of us would be in this situation. But to take the cowardly path that you did and to make other people suffer because you were suffering is pretty. So that name Taylor fits you well. And I'm not a praying man, but after Judge Walsh here sentences today, I will pray that you meet the same fate as your idealistic Jeffrey Dahmer. So have a good life.
But Chad's father, Michael Thyrion, shocks everyone with his statement.
Taylor, I just wanted to say that I forgive you for what you done to my son. And yeah, you made a bad choice, and now you have to live with it. But you know, I'm gonna miss Shad. He was a wonderful child too. Growing up, just mild mannered and just happy, and I know you made a bad choice. And like I said, I forgive you, and I'm gonna ask the judge if he can, you know, if she can see the streets again sometime, you know. It may not be soon, but I believe everybody makes bad choices, and maybe not to the scale, but I think there's a lot of hope for you. I think you know, you can make use of your time and be a better person and do great things yet, you know. So it does no good for me to hate you, you know. I know you got a heart. I know you got a mind. I wish you no harm, and I hope things go well for you. That's all I got to say.
Schabusiness, for her part, declined to speak. When the judge asked if she had anything to say, she replied simply, "No, there isn't." But her story didn't end in that courtroom. In July 2024, while incarcerated at Taycheedah Correctional Institution, Schabusiness allegedly attacked a prison guard. Court records show she requested medical attention for a staple lodged in her arm. When a nurse went to get tweezers, Schabusiness allegedly lunged at the nurse. A guard intervened, and Schabusiness allegedly hit her with a tray and swung a metal table at her. The nurse reported that Schabusiness laughed during the entire attack. In April 2025, Schabusiness appeared in a Fond du Lac County courtroom on charges related to that incident. She stood up, began yelling, and lunged at her attorney. Officers tackled her to the ground. The judge later ordered that she appear via video conference for the remainder of the proceedings. She pleaded no contest to disorderly conduct and was sentenced to 90 additional days in jail, to be served consecutively to her life sentence. The question that hangs over this case is not whether Taylor Schabusiness committed these acts. She admitted to them. The question is whether the legal system can fully account for the intersection of severe mental illness, drug addiction, and violence. Her defense argued that she was psychotic, that she lacked the capacity to understand what she was doing. The prosecution argued that she was a drug user who made choices, and those choices led to murder. The jury sided with the prosecution. But the final question belongs to you. After hearing the evidence, after reading the documents, after seeing the videos, what do you think? Was she insane, or was she simply evil? Or is there a third possibility, one that the legal system struggles to accommodate? If you found this deep dive into the Taylor Schabusiness case compelling, make sure to subscribe to the Dark Discovery Files. We don't sensationalize. We examine the evidence, we follow the facts, and we let the public record speak for itself. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next investigation. And when you're done, drop a comment below. Tell us what you think about the insanity defense in this case. Do you think it was a valid argument, or was it a convenient excuse? We read every comment, and we want to hear your perspective. Like, share, and subscribe to the Dark Discovery Files. We'll see you next time.